Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? In today's episode, I'm talking to Ben Pickard. Ben Pickard is the founder and CEO of Lean Strong Fitness, just outside of Toronto in Canada. He's also one of our mentors and coaches at Business for Unicorns, so we work together as well. He's incredible. We talk about a few really great topics. We talk about grit and some lessons he's learned as a leader during this COVID pandemic. We talk a little bit about building systems in your business. Ben is brilliant at this. He's really good at creating consistent, reliable, repeatable systems in a business. He tells you how he does it. And then we also talk about KPIs, what numbers to track, how to track them in your business, and the value of keeping track and measuring the things that matter in your business. It's a great conversation, very tactical. So if that sounds fun and exciting to you, then keep on listening. The Business for Unicorns podcast is for fitness business owners who want actionable strategies to grow their business, take amazing care of their clients, and build a life and business they truly love. I'm your host, Michael Keeler, co-founder of Mark Fisher Fitness, and through Business for Unicorns, I'm a coach and consultant to industry-leading fitness studios around the world. Let's get started. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Business for Unicorns podcast. I'm super stoked for today's episode. As you just heard, I'm talking to my good friend, my colleague, my peer, Ben Pickard, and I'm super stoked to do it. So let's just dive right in. Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for today. What's so fun about this is that you and I talk multiple times per week, but we've never done a podcast together. We've never done this kind of official conversation that we're filming. And so really what I wanted to do today was just kind of rehash a lot of the conversations we have on a regular basis, but just, in front of a camera and a microphone.
Nice.
Yeah, so
sounds perfect.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So thanks so much for taking time to do this. I'm stoked to kind of introduce you to the audience. And as they just heard in your bio, now you're working on the Business for Unicorns team. So it's even more important that people know how fucking smart and brilliant you are. And so I'm just stoked to have this conversation. So thanks for doing it, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me. And thanks for having me on the team. I'm stoked to be here.
So I've been doing this with all my conversations recently, just because I feel like I kind of have to, but I'm also curious. And I know the answer to this already because we talk so much, but I can't start a conversation without talking about COVID these days and how it's impacted our industry. And so my question for you is, what are you learning, or what have you learned about yourself and about your gym and about your business over the last, almost year of COVID? What pops up for you as the biggest lessons learned so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one of the big ones that's actually thanks to you and Mark is cleaning theater. It's less about what we're doing and more about what people see us doing. Yeah. So obviously we're not going to just fake clean and then that's it. But we would have a super clean gym already, and then people would still see one thing be a complaint. And now we're making a point that they see us clean. We remind them that we're cleaning, just all the time too, because everyone's concerned. So I have to give credit where it's due for you and Mark for that one, but that's helped a lot.
I just always love that. I love that phrase. And really, I think that I started using that phrase. I'm not sure where else it came from, but I started using it because I had always heard that phrase for the airport, for security theater, that in the US, the TSA and all of that is it's mainly show. All the data shows it doesn't really matter. It doesn't actually keep us safer on airplanes, but it's the theater of keeping us safe. And I thought the same thing was true for COVID. It's yes, we're cleaning, excuse me. They're, at TSA, they're actually checking your bag for bombs. So we're actually cleaning, but what's most important is the theater of the cleaning. So anyway, I'm glad that phrase resonated because it's always been fun for me to say.
And unlike the airport, if the data shows it might not keep you safe, I hope our cleaning actually does keep people safe.
Yeah, you would hope a little bit, but we also know that we've learned more and more that transmission of COVID on surfaces is less important than we thought it was. And so us wiping surfaces every 30 seconds is probably mostly theater. But anyway, I digress. Keep on going. What else are you learning from this year?
Yeah. We had some challenges with our team over the last couple of years. And in the last year, we've really made some changes to address them. So some of those challenges were some leadership work I was doing and how I show up in the business and help people out and deal with conflict and everything. And it's been really awesome since once COVID hit and we got shut down, I think in 2 days we pivoted to doing online semi-private, and then we reopened 5 months later, and like the team just gets it. They're doing great. Instead of these issues of we like can't even think of a good example right now because it feels like we've been COVID for 5 years, but like everyone's just on the same team. People are taking stuff on. One of our coaches is helping like increase our supplement revenue again, and another coach is like working hours that he wasn't sure he wanted to do, and another coach like being able to take one-on-one sessions, and we're just coming together and gelling so well. And it's not like it was crazy dysfunctional before, but there was like kind of ups and downs because the business grew faster than our leadership did, which is my leadership. No point sugarcoating it. And then it just seems to really be like it just clicks. Everything like it just works, and it's I really appreciate the team for that and like doing it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you know what? I've been hearing this a lot. You might have in your coaching and mentorship as well. Is that this year one of the things that COVID did? One of the small silver linings is that a crisis has a way of bringing what's important into just sharp focus. And I think that's been true on teams. There's a lot of like the pettiness and the complaining and the yada yada has kind of not disappeared, right? Because we're still humans, but it kind of faded away, at least for a little while, and maybe still is, because everyone realizes we need to pull together and stay focused. And so I think I'm hearing that a lot. Yeah. Any other lessons about yourself? You mentioned you poked fun at your own leadership. So any lessons about your own leadership in this year?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure how to put it. I think it might be kind of two pieces. One is that so we started the business like 6 years ago, give or take. And it was just a grind. Like I was just aware that starting a business was going to be all the time. And I worked like everyone else did. Like Sunday mornings was the day I coached. So I'd typically work till about dinner time. I worked all day, Monday through Friday. And then I worked half a day Saturday. So I took like half a day off. And I had like a lot of grit looking back on that. I could of course I'd go to bed at 10 and wake up at 4:30 and go do the thing, because like I was building my legacy, even though I might not have known it at the time or thought of it that way. And after COVID hit and our revenue was here, we basically got cut in half, down by 60%. One of the biggest fights to get it back was actually my own mindset for like leading the team to do so. It's not like at no point was I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
But like 5 years ago, I was like jazzed to put in my 95th hour of work. And then here I was like, I just did like 5 months of like working very part-time with COVID because there wasn't as much to do. And now it's coming back to it. And it's like, it was really brought some introspective moments around like that grit and what needs to happen and how do we put things in place. So something where there's like stumbling blocks and we're overcoming them. But I've never had that, like, what am I willing to do again since we started the business, which it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like that long ago.
It's so amazing that you say this, because that absolutely reflects my experience as well. Is that I've had these kind of like, this kind of diminishing capacity to rally myself over time in the same way that I did in the first few years of the business. For me at MFF, it's, almost 10 years ago. And, back then, like you, I was working all day, every day, woke up out of bed, laptop on my lap, fell asleep with my laptop on my lap, and was happy to do it, like stoked to do it. 10 years later, as I need to dive back in the business from time to time, I also find it harder and harder to put in that kind of effort, to rally that kind of grit in myself. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the science is behind this phenomenon, but I just want to echo that you're not alone, my friend.
Good.
I feel that too.
And I think it's important to share, because I'm, especially on Facebook, if you're looking at business coaches, and this is part of the reason I like you guys, not most everyone else, where it's like you gotta like do this and work hard and everything's go 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 and it's grind and it's hustle 24/7, and it's like part of me subscribes to like hard work does pay off, but like it doesn't actually talk about but what about the people who are just fried? What about the people who are like sad or anxious or depressed from COVID or whatever, and like can't just do that. And it's like, if the image we're always putting it out is like win, win, win 24/7, I don't think it then has people who are like struggling, like, why am I not as motivated as that person? Like, to even doubt themselves even more. And like, that might be the next person to open the next perfect gym.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we can't all have the grit and energy and persistence of like Gary V. Right. I mean, man just seems like he's built to make content and be on the run and talk and, 23 hours of the day. And we all try and hold ourselves to that standard, and we're fed these messages like, no, the reason your business is failing is because you're fucking lazy, is that you're not working hard enough or long enough. It's like, yeah, but sometimes I'm just sad because it's winter. Sometimes I just want to play with my kids and watch a movie. And so, I think especially during COVID, it's like we've needed to take care of ourselves and pause. Yeah.
I'm proud of what we've built, but I'm also very aware that like in the first few years of business, I traded family time for work time, like a lot.
Yeah.
And that's something where I made that choice, and I'm happy with it, and everything is good. It's not like I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish I had done it differently. But it is something where it's like, if I was a single dude and I had nothing else to do and my family didn't live in town, I'd fucking work all the time. But like, I have other priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is so much about what I love about you as a coach, and why, frankly, you're the first and only person so far I've asked to be a coach at Business for Unicorns besides myself. Is because you bring this sense of compassion and this like non-judgmental attitude about, and help in trying to meet people where they're at, as a coach and a mentor. So, it's one of the things I appreciate about you, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, let me switch gears, because what I really want to spend a lot of time talking about today is the fact that your superpower is really about building systems. One of the things you love doing, that you seem to be great at, that you help people a ton do in your coaching and mentorship, is building systems. And the way I think about building systems is taking something that needs to happen in your business and making it more efficient, making it easy to replicate, making it more consistent, making a process that someone can follow or everyone can follow step by step. That makes it easy to get it right and hard to get it wrong, which is a phrase I stole from Zingerman's.
Yeah.
And so just talk to me a little bit about, where do you think this proficiency or this interest in building systems came from for you?
Oh man, I wasn't ready for that one. I'm not totally sure.
I can rephrase and just change it up and offer you another angle. It's like, can you think of like the first few systems you made? Like what was your introduction into like, oh, I can be good at this?
Yes. I don't know. I'm just blanking. I want to say like some childhood thing that I was always like my dad did. He was an architect, and we'd always be doing things on the house. And one, he knew how to design it and what all the codes were, and two, we didn't have a lot of money, so we kind of had to. And like it gives you kind of a spatial sense. Like I kind of think of like a blown up view of a flow chart of like what needs to happen. And I think that probably has something to do with it, having to like, this has to go here, then that has to fit, and there's other pieces, and then the roof has to go on, and there's an order of operations that has to happen.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, one of my first jobs was selling weed.
Yeah, I know that. I know this fun fact.
And I made a spreadsheet for my margins. And that was just the way I thought, because the only goal for me for selling weed was to make money, because I had a kid, and Liam was born when I was in university. So I was 21, 22, and I had 2 or 3 more years of school. And it was purely like, I need a way to make money that isn't $12 an hour, which is minimum wage. And no one's going to hire a university student for much more. So I'm like, I'm going to sell weed. But it makes sense to put it in that way, because then you can view it. And then my first business coaching company is called NPE. Sean Greeley runs it. And they were very numbers and spreadsheets oriented. And I think I always kind of liked thinking that way, but didn't know how to work it into a business till they were like, know your numbers is one of their core 10 commandments or whatever. And then I started to see that pay off. Like not just making money, but actually knowing where you're at. Be like, oh, we can afford a new lease. This does make sense. Oh, we do have more clients than we thought we did. This does make sense. And it just kind of started to click.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, two great examples. One is, right, you come from this background of building. You still do a lot of building in your own house, a lot of construction, and in the construction process, it's very systematic, right? You have to do things, a specific order of operations. You have to be organized with the right materials and the right tools to get the job done. You need the right people, So like that makes perfect sense. And then I also just love that your intro to spreadsheets and KPIs was selling weed. I'm totally going to call this podcast like learn about KPIs by selling weed with Ben Pickard.
Yeah,
it's perfect. I think it works for our audience too, so I'm here for it. Yeah,
for it.
Yeah. So let's just talk about KPIs because it's a topic that I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners have heard about, and many people know you should know your numbers. You should, track what matters. And so, what's been your approach to scorecards or KPIs or whatever you want to call it?
Like the overall approach?
Yeah, just how do you think about it, and then what does it look like in your business? What do you actually do to track that shit, and why does it matter?
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions, but you get the idea.
Yeah. just cut me off whenever you want.
Sure.
So we run like a light version of EOS. It's probably the best way to put it. We hired an implementer.
And EOS for listeners is Entrepreneur Operating System. There's a great book out there that talks in part about the system called Traction. So keep on going. I just want to give context.
Yeah, nothing against EOS, but I find Traction, the book, incredibly boring, but the actual doing of the stuff, fantastic. So if you don't like Traction, don't be turned off EOS.
Yeah, that's fair.
Didn't finish it. So yeah, which basically like there's a lot, nothing it does that isn't like, nothing's new. From my perspective, it just brought everything together in like one cohesive way, because you'd have everyone who's ever done business coaching knows that you do goals and values and mission, and anyone who does like visioning and journaling knows you do 10 and 3 and 5 year visions. And like anyone who looks at any sort of like numbers driven stuff wants to what measured gets managed. And this kind of just brought it all together in a place that makes sense. So that would kind of be like the global approach to it. And then I also have this one tracker I made that I actually got modified from NPE like 5 years ago. And it's just evolved over time, that I call it my KPI tracker, even though that's probably not accurate because they're all KPI trackers. That just breaks down, you've got your revenue, it breaks it down to profit first, breaks it into your income and expense categories, and then gives you a bunch of metrics like dollars per average client and dollars per square foot and sessions per coach and percentage of members on hold, and like pretty much all the stuff you'd want to see on a monthly basis. It's just like, are we doing good? And it sounds like a lot of work, so I hope I'm not turning anyone off of this. Making all the documents was a ton of work, but doing them, like I do the monthly numbers one in like half an hour, maybe once a month.
Yeah.
But I can now go back 4 years for data. So when I was, perfect example, when we're in the process of hiring a sales associate who'll be primarily commission paid. I could actually go back and see historical data for like 4 years to see what was our average client value and how many clients were signing up and what jobs like was I doing at the time. So I could actually tell them like on average, I was signing up 14 people a month and my peak is 21. And I was doing that as one of the 9 hats I wore. So you should probably be able to crush my goals. And I can actually be informed rather than just like, I feel blank.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you say that, even just keeping track of your monthly KPIs just takes you like 30 minutes. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that someone has to spend hours and hours every week to have a decent scorecard or to be tracking the numbers in their business. And if you are spending hours and hours per week, you're doing something wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's not how it should go. You either have too many numbers or it's too hard to get to them, but something's wrong. So I'm glad that you said that. Can you just step back a few steps? And you mentioned all these things like creating some long-term vision, having your mission and your values and all these things. Can you just talk about how they relate to keeping a scorecard or having KPIs? Can you just talk about like what the through line is for all of that, for put the pieces together for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to the last year or two, whenever I hired business coaches, one of the exercises would be, you're going to do your vision and your mission and your core values, and you're going to do it. and that's probably it. And you probably never do anything with it again. Or they say put it somewhere that you can see it and you put it on a poster, but like you don't actually necessarily live it.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we use our values because they're on the same document as our scorecards. We see them all the time. We start every meeting by reading our mission statement and then reviewing one piece of our long-term vision. So like a 1-year plan, our values, our avatar, our other avatar, but we're always bringing it top of mind for our clients or for our coaches, sorry. And then we also use our values to determine what our metrics are. So we obviously have some like black and white metrics, like how many clients attended this week. Like that's a stat we track. But we also have a stat called team communication, scale of 1 to 10, because like I said, a year ago, the team was having some issues and there's communication stuff. And we realized, I don't know if I can take credit for this, that like, if we care, like everyone knows what gets measured gets managed. We're trying to manage communication, but we're not measuring it. So we're just like, fuck it. We're going to put in front and center. So one of our items on our scorecard is team communication, and everyone on the team just rates how they feel the team communicated that week, scale of 1 to 10. And then we take the average, and if it's above 8, it's green, and if it's below 8, it's red, and we talk about it. And like that perfectly ties into values, because some of our values are like compassion and belonging and empower and excellence. And if we're not communicating, we're not able to do any of those.
Yeah. I'm going to put up my, did you write that down graphic here? Because I think that's so important. Sorry, podcast listeners, you're not seeing it, but, you should be writing that down, what Ben just said, because frankly, it matters so much that if you have a vision, if you have values, if you have, a mission statement, if you have areas of the business where you want to manage them so that they get better, they've got to be just folded into your processes. They've got to be integrated into your systems, just like Ben explained, that the values are on the spreadsheet where they look at every week with the KPIs, and the mission statement is there. They read it at the start of their meeting, that communication matters to them. So they actually track that as one of their numbers. Yeah. I mean, these things are not just, academic. Having an avatar is not just something you should have on a piece of paper or a poster, right? It should be something that's integrated in how you do all your things. So I love that so much, Ben. That's so helpful. Yeah. So go back to your point from before, which is I hope I'm not scaring people, right? So many people are thinking like, yeah, well, I don't have any of these things. So let's just say, for listeners and viewers who are thinking like, where do I start? What are the KPIs that most gym owners just absolutely need to have? No questions asked.
Yeah, great question. So I want to be like, pick a few and whatever you need to track is right for you. And I'm also like, there's some shit you absolutely should do.
Yes.
So I'm going to give a little bit of both maybe.
Great.
So I do believe that it's not truly a KPI, but I do believe you should be getting your profit and loss with the different services that you offer, like your income categories broken down, and then your expense categories broken down every single month, and reviewing it with I don't want to say a fine-tooth comb, but like a medium-tooth comb, like a 30-minute review.
This might be a great way to organize it. So things you should look at monthly versus things you should look at weekly. So these are good monthly ones.
All right, perfect. So yeah, I just think that's like a necessary to do. I've talked to too many business owners who are like, oh, I don't think we're making enough money, or I don't know what's going on. And then you actually get into it. You're like, you're actually doing really well. You just don't know it because you're not like, you just don't have a clue, and that's okay. But like I wouldn't expect you to know because you haven't reviewed this ever except end of the year with your accountant, and that's just not going to fly. Like it's not just about money. It's that if you run out of cash, you no longer can have a business, and you can no longer serve the people who need it, which my gym serves people 50 plus who've tried and bailed before. Our avatar is 52 with 2 kids and a bad knee. Like if these people don't come to us, they might be done with fitness forever. So it's not, you wouldn't need 9 Lamborghinis. It's like, you need to stay open to help people. And then for actual KPIs, like I think it's important to know how many sessions each of your coaches is coaching. That's one that I didn't used to track, and then I started to track, and it gives me a much better idea of the coaches, like how they're doing as they're starting to creep up a little bit. Just to make sure you're taking good care of your team. Let me pull my scorecard here for all the other ones. Not surprisingly, we track how many signups per week we did. Like that's a pretty straightforward one to do. It's also super easy to track how many people. You look at your calendar, 3. 3, like done.
Yep.
I think it's also important to track like some sort of metric of dollar per member or dollar per square foot or dollar per attendance. I know it's going to vary depending on the models. Like I don't actually track dollars per square foot for our studio, even though I've heard it's a really good one to do. I track dollars per active member, and then I track sessions and attendances. So I have a pretty good idea of like how many sessions it's taking to have how many people attend, to have what amount of revenue.
Yeah.
And I just have a gut feeling that our gym still has a bunch of space, because it does. So I'm not super concerned about whether at the magic number. My rent's also super cheap, so I don't care a ton.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sure who, if you have multiple locations, I can imagine $1 per square foot starts to matter for if you're trying to optimize for a franchise or for scaling at a level. But for single studio owners, I just can't imagine that that's a super relevant number. Yeah,
No.
but I love the average, dollars per member is for sure essential. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that you think people just starting off just absolutely should track? I imagine you probably have a few more around the marketing and sales process in terms of consultations booked, et cetera.
Yeah. I have a separate scorecard so we have our main scorecard for these are the top 5 to 10 things that if you only had like 30 seconds or 2 minutes to review your business, what do you need to see?
Yep.
And then we have like another scorecard that's exclusively operations, another scorecard that's exclusively finance, another scorecard that's exclusively marketing and sales. So marketing and sales, I've taken the you guys approach of track everything and then delete it after it comes. But we track like how many leads came in, how many of those leads we got who booked their own phone call, how many referral asks, how many reactivation calls, a whole bunch of stuff. But I'd say the biggest one would actually be to track like number of leads, number of consults booked from those leads, number of consults shown up from those booked, and then number sign up, because then you can reverse engineer how many leads do I need to get a sign up.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be 1, it's going to be like 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
For us, it's like 10. But then you can actually start to see how did those relate, not just like statistically, not everyone will sign up. And like part of your job is go collect some no's so that you can get the next yes. But when you have it in a spreadsheet, for me, the nice part is like you're not acting on emotion, you're actually acting on like logic and fact. And as we talk about in Leadership Society, like the stories are tell ourselves from what is actually true, and the stories are this big huge cloud. It's like the cloud around that Charlie Brown guy who dragged the blanket. It just follows him everywhere.
What is his name? Pigpen?
Yes.
Yep.
That's it. Or being like, oh, we're actually doing okay. Like every week since we've reopened, I've been a little bit stressed about business, as I'm sure everyone is. And then I look at my scorecard, and of 11 metrics, all are green except for 1, and that one is the least important in my opinion. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should like cool my jets a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important, dude, is so many people I talk to are stressed, and that stress often comes from not knowing actually what's going on in the business. People think they're going to be more stressed if they start tracking the KPIs and have to look at their quote bad numbers every day or every week. And I don't find that to be true at all. I find that there's almost always a sense of relief when people have their numbers, even if they're bad, because at least you know how bad. We lost $5,000 this month. Might not be as bad as what you thought.
Yeah.
So I think that your point is so well taken. Is this like just knowing what it is the thing that is helpful, and making decisions based on facts and figures and data is so much more efficient and effective and less stressful than making decisions based on stories and feelings and inferences. Yeah, you were going to say something. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's just laughing. I'm just laughing with you on the like, at least right? Because it's sometimes easier to be like, it's terrible, I'm just not going to look. Yep. And like, don't get me wrong, like I get that, and I don't want to judge anyone or make anyone wrong for that. But like at the same time, like we're not just in a business that sells like bullshit trinkets where like if we shut down, like nobody's going to care. Like I remember Mark talked at some seminar in Toronto, and he got everyone to close their eyes, typical theatrical business for unicorn stuff. And he gave this like moving speech about how the dad wasn't taking care of his health. And then the daughter got married and he wasn't at the wedding because he was fucking dead. And like, like that will happen.
Yeah.
Depending on the businesses or the customers we serve. Like, so like I really do believe like we are in a place where we can genuinely make a difference for people. Like it's like, I don't love the term change your life because it's overused, but like for a lot of people it does. Like 60-year-old client who can get down on the ground to pick up her grandkid again. Like think of all the memories we just built. So when it comes to as a business owner and we've got like some avoidance behaviors around something that is like you need to know how much money you have so that you can like, do you need to hire? Because if you hire someone and you don't need them, you're going to have to fire them. And then that person's never going to come work for you again. Like it's like we have to lean into that discomfort to actually know what we need to know within reason so that we can like actually make a difference.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be so passionate about it if we made like Nalgene's, because like whatever, it's a great water bottle and it's super durable. But like if I lost my Nalgene, I'm going to be fine.
Totally.
But like for some of our clients, if they lost you, person I'm talking to right now, like they might give up on fitness for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Yeah, it's really well said. Yeah, and leave it to Fisher to make a morbid point, but so well, But it's helpful. It's helpful context to be like, this is what's at stake here when we don't succeed. Not just that we don't make money or we don't create jobs for our staff, but we don't serve our clients in a way that has a potential to change their life. And I think that's really, really beautifully said. And I also want to circle back. The thing you said is, I can say maybe say it a little bit stronger. You were saying you don't want to judge people who are burying their head in the sand, and I'm not judging them either. But I do want to frankly say on this podcast, stop it. Stop it. If you are someone who knows that you are, when the numbers are bad or things aren't going well in the business, you just, you have this tendency to go bury your head in the sand and don't look, don't pay attention, and just hope that it all goes away or hope that it all goes better. Stop it. It's not gonna, it doesn't work like that. You're not serving yourself or your business, or your team or your clients by avoiding. But I get the impulse, maybe go cry for a few minutes, or go, have a therapy session, or go meditate, or whatever you do, take a walk around the block, take a vacation, right? Do what you need to do to take care of yourself, and then get back on the field. Which is a sports reference, which I rarely make, but
doing great.
Yeah, thank you. Get back on the field, right? Get in the game. Being on the benches is not going to help you improve whatever's going wrong in your business. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Let's talk about a different system, and maybe I'll let you pick here. Is what other systems do you think are just absolutely crucial that you run in your business, that either you've made or versions of other things that you've brought in, that you think are essential? I'm happy to give you some things I'm thinking about, but I want to hear where your brain goes first.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one that comes to mind, and then you can tee me up with whatever you want me to talk about next. So we've worked pretty hard over the last little while to make sure that pretty much everything anybody does has a SOP. And SOP is, even liking systems, I still think SOP is just like standard operating procedures. It's just boring as hell. But as per Zingerman's, like, it's how do you set people up in a game they can win? Because I used to think giving people processes for basic stuff was like making them feel stupid, and it was actually like giving them the reins to like a successful, like, put the ball in the basket. Ooh, this is great. I feel awesome. Competency. Yeah. So it's not one system, but just having a mindset of like, when something goes wrong, one of the first things I asked was like, was the process not followed? And if that's the case, we'll talk about it. Or was the process wrong, or was there no process? Because obviously there's new shit, especially with COVID, we don't have processes for. And we don't have 100% of stuff, because don't get me wrong, that's a lot of stuff to put down. But like, do you have a checklist for opening and closing the gym? Do you have, like, when a member signs up, like we have an Asana task with a whole bunch of tasks of every single thing that happens, because there's so many friggin' things when they sign up. So that anytime we hire an admin, we're like, here's the process. Here's what you do. We hired a new coach. This is how you, like, we have a doc on like how we write programs. And now we're working on making them more of an expert process as well, by having like a little 3 or 5 minute video. So it is like a big task to make a bunch of these, but if you haven't, because I'm imagining you're going to ask, where would you start if someone didn't have anything? What I did is just, our admin picked whatever her biggest issue was that week, and she read the rough draft of a process. And then on week 2, she gave me the rough drafts to edit, and then she started her next biggest problem. So every week we were completing one process, but each of us only had to do half of it. And lo and behold, we've got like 40 different things. But
I think that's huge. I think, friends, you should also be writing that down. I mean, that's a great way. It's a great process for making your processes, right? Is turn to your team. Turn to your team and say, what are the things every week that you feel like you're doing that are not a good use of your time, that are inefficient, where the steps aren't clear, where I haven't been clear, where we all seem to be doing this differently, and then go write down the way you do it and bring it to me. That is such a brilliant way to start building out SOPs, right? Because I think so many people that I talk to, and this is probably true in your conversations, they get hung up on like, well, I just don't have the time. I have to sit down. It's going to take me weeks and days or hours to make all these SOPs. And I think your process here is brilliant, because you're like, no, make your team, if you have one, make them start the first draft. They're the ones doing the things every day for the most part. And so I think that's so smart. That's so smart. Yeah. Yeah. Can you think of, are there any SOPs or, that have really made a difference for you? Any SOPs that you've put in place and it really made something click in your business?
Profit first.
Oh yeah. 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 Talk about that.
And that's with so I put that into, again, it's just one tool. So it's not like this is the god of all spreadsheets, but into the KPI tracker I mentioned that's got the financials and profit first. And
can you give a little, sorry to interrupt, can you give a little context for profit first in case people haven't heard of it?
So it's just a different way of thinking about managing your money, where essentially the government gets paid first, contrary to the title, and then you get paid next. Rather than typically people, I can't remember the formula, but typically whatever's sales minus expenses equals what you have. So it's like the owners take what's left over. You actually decide on a fixed amount for expenses, and then you're taking the profit and you're only spending what's left over. So it's just filling your cup first. It's like the financial equivalent of self-care. Yep. And it's just been nice because it's funny too, because the CRA in Canada doesn't give a shit about profit first. It's just a thing we do, but I can't submit a profit first report for them. So they're like, that's not how this works. But
they're like, that's not accounting, but thank you so much.
Exactly. Yeah. Because on your profit and loss, it's revenue and gross profit, and then total expenses, and then what's left over, and then pay taxes on that. And this is setting aside taxes and HST, which is sales tax in Ontario. And you have it in different buckets, which is just nice because then I'm a saver, so it didn't change too much for me in terms of the dollars in the accounts. But for some people, having one account with 50 grand, they might be like, ooh, I should buy a BMW. But if you have 5 accounts with 10 grand each, it feels like less. So you're not as, crazy.
Yep.
But to answer your question, putting profit first into a spreadsheet where I'm reviewing my financials, reviewing our operations, looking at how many clients we have, what was our signups, how many clients did we lose, what was our retention. There's a number of metrics. And for the record, most of them formulas. So once I put in a handful of numbers, I just have a bunch of formulas that do the work for me. Seeing that month to month has been monumental in not just knowing what we can invest in, whether it's a new lease or we just bought this electrostatic sprayer thing for COVID. But at the same time, actually not being run by my emotions. It's again the head in the sand thing. And for what it's worth, our business does well. Well, not as good during COVID, but great before COVID. Every month I was nervous to put my numbers into this financial tracking thing, and then every month I'm like, oh, it was okay. And imagine how that stress and grief would have built over time. If I did that once a year, I'd be sweating bullets going in to see my accountant. Do I owe the government $1 million? What's going to happen? Do I even have a house? And instead it's oh, okay, that's okay. Yeah, I can set that aside for taxes. Oh, got it. Yes, that is what's true. All right, back to work.
Yeah, that's great. I think, for listeners and viewers, if you don't know, we also run a profit first at Mark Fisher Fitness. So, Ben and I are on the same page here, that it's a system that really works for us. And while I think, Ben and I could probably both sit here and say most gyms should be running profit first, I think, the other takeaway you could have from this is just have a system for managing your money, right? I don't care what it is. Just have a system to make the flow of money through your business as transparent and easy to manage as possible. And for us, Profit First does that really well. Do you know any other systems, any folks you've been talking to, any other ways that they run their cash flow? I haven't heard of anything that's comparable to Profit First. Have you?
No, it's either normal how bookkeepers in Canada do
Yeah,
money or profit first. I've heard of some people set aside tax in advance. Like I did that before profit first, and those
sure.
people who did it, but no actual like, here is a system to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be bold and just say, yeah, most of you who own gyms, you have to just use profit first. I mean, it works so well in terms of making sure that you as the owner are paying yourself first. It also works so well into putting your money into buckets like Ben was explaining. So you know that you have money put set aside for taxes, you have money set aside to invest in your space, or you know you have money set aside for whatever. And that process, again, sounds daunting if you haven't done it before, but how much time do you spend every month kind of managing your money like that, Ben?
Including like gathering all of the receipts from everything and credit card and bank statements and everything, I probably do like 1 hour every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a little price to pay for peace of mind. Such a little price to pay for having all of your cash in the right places and know what's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good for you. Awesome. Well, sadly, I think we're running out of time, my friend. I'm
Yep.
trying to keep these podcasts neat and tidy so people don't have to listen to, 90 minutes of me gabbing. But I actually like, I like long podcasts. I never mind if it runs late, but I know I'm going to have you on again. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to keep this one tight.
Sure.
So let's move on. Let's do our final 5 questions. You actually
Man.
don't know what these are.
No, I don't.
I haven't told you, and I changed them from last year. So it's final 5 questions. It's meant to be kind of rapid fire ish, but if you want to take your time on some, feel free. All right, final 5 questions. Ready?
Ready.
Number 1, what is one thing you love about being a gym owner?
The variety.
Yeah, say more about variety.
I don't love training people as much as I used to, but like I'm challenged in leadership, which is a whole other rabbit hole I won't go down right now. But thanks to some leadership changes, my team doesn't hate me anymore. And there's leadership, and you have to learn something about financials. And like I get to learn, I'm still learning about training and fitness. I don't love doing as much. And then I'm learning how do I actually train people and onboard people, and like customer service. I didn't know anything about customer service. Like leasehold improvements. I know a lot about the building codes in Guelph after doing some of the leasehold stuff, because we either did it ourselves or we couldn't move. But the variety of stuff I get to learn is, to me, really engaging. And personally, I like learning new skills. I don't even care what the skill is. I just like putting on my white belt and kind of sucking at something and then getting to 2 belts higher. I don't know karate. And then like, it just feels good to learn.
Yeah.
And that fires me up.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I love it. Number 2, what's the coolest thing you've ever done for a client? The coolest thing you've ever done to kind of take care of a client or impress or wow a client?
That's a really good question.
This is the one where everyone wishes I would have told them in advance that I was going to ask this.
Well, so I don't think it's the coolest, but somebody obviously did. There's an article on the PTDC, John Goodman's fitness thing, and it was talking about gifting clients. And I had these longstanding clients, Karen and Steve, and they love their like fancy espresso in the morning. And I got engraved espresso cups that say like fueling Steve's deadlift, fueling Karen's deadlift. They both wanted to deadlift more because they thought it was cool. And I mean, that was featured on the PTDC, so I thought that was pretty good. But
yeah,
so I think the one that hits me home the most is probably my biggest learning experience. Is I accidentally really pissed off a client in like year 2, and she was paying a lot of money, and I had no idea, and she was furious, and I like bought her a big ass bouquet of flowers and was like, I didn't have a clue. Maybe I'm like callous and blind, but like I just wanted to apologize. That one had the most like meaning and learning for me, because that was like the difference between the golden and platinum rule for me.
Yeah, great examples. See, you don't need to prep for those. Those are 2 amazing examples. Personal gifts and like sincere apologies with flowers. I mean, sometimes that's what it takes. Yeah, amazing. Question number 3. When someone on your team does this, it makes you super happy. So what is the thing that your team does that you just like get stoked about it?
When they go above and beyond for clients, like that makes me genuinely ecstatic, because we do have processes and systems for when we're finishing sessions and stuff, and when they're able to like set aside a few minutes to just chat with someone. We had a client who was frustrated with some COVID procedures. I think just frustrated with the world, to be honest. Just took it out on us, and just take some time to like sit with that person and be with that person. Like that's the point.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's like,
Yeah.
we're not training people for the Olympics. Like,
Yeah.
it's just to make people like happier, healthier, more energetic human beings to have a better life. And when you can like really be the best part of their day, to me, I'm just like, you're fucking awesome. Like, good job,
coach. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I love that. We're not training people for the Olympics. We just want to be a great part of their day and help them have fun, and want to work out, take care of themselves. That's awesome. Awesome. Question number 4. What are, this could be a long one, but I'm making it a quick one, which is, what is your most reliable strategy for generating leads? What is the thing that if you had to go generate some leads tomorrow, what is the thing that you turn to first?
Paid Facebook ads. I have, in our 6th month of business, I hired someone I couldn't afford to run paid Facebook ads for us, and it absolutely crushed. Like, just did exceptionally well. And ever since then, we've kind of changed people here or there, but it still seems to be the best value per dollar. It's also not a ton of work for me because I outsource it, and that's important. And like, it pretty consistently gets us like 5 to 12 clients a month.
Yeah.
Though I am, as I'm saying this, it's the most consistent. But like, if we needed 5 clients tomorrow, what I would probably do is actually phone every single one of our clients and say, come up with like a genuine referral script. And like, this is why I'm calling you right now to ask. When it's one thing to ask in the gym, another thing to pick up the phone. But I would just straight up ask, like, we're looking for referrals. We're trying to get 5 more people. COVID's been hard, et cetera, et cetera. Who do you know?
Yeah, I think both of those are amazing. Yeah, I mean, 1, just ask your current clients for referrals, pick up the phone and ask. And 2, Facebook ads. There's so many people I talk to who are just like, no, Facebook doesn't work for me. Facebook ads don't work for me. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think, it's like
exercising doesn't work for me. I have to do something else. It's like, well, it does. I just haven't learned it yet.
I don't think you have the one human body that is not subject to the laws of thermodynamics. And so I'm pretty sure this can work for you. I feel the same way about Facebook. But knowing that not everyone's in the same market, not everyone has the same budget, right? There are constraints for sure. But yeah, I'm glad that you still put that out there. Awesome. Question number 5, last one, is what is the one thing gym owners can start doing better tomorrow? In your opinion, you see people getting this wrong all the time, and you think tomorrow they can start doing better in this area with just, not a lot of effort, just start doing this better. What would it be?
We're talking like gym owners as a global average.
Yeah, sure. The gym owners in your experience, people, who you think are our average, listeners to this podcast.
Upping their professionalism.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't expecting that one. Go for it.
And I don't mean that in the sense of like everyone's a, meathead or whatever. And like, I used to be, so I'm not judging. I totally get it. But just like, think of your business as a business. Think of when you have people come in, it's not just exercise, it's an experience. Think of like when you're actually coaching people, that you're not just like if your marketing is like you half naked and how fit you are all the time, like I'm sure that works great for a number of people, but it's like think of any other business and you see their sleazy marketing, and then look at yours from your client's shoes, and like just kind of give yourself a check, right? Yeah. And this is coming from like, we ran the ads with the hottest girls you've ever seen in like booty shorts and a sports bra, and it's like 90-day challenge. And at the time it worked, and now I don't even know if I'd do it, even if I knew if it would work, just because it's such a misalignment of values. But just like, that's the message we're putting out there. And like, I don't know, I'm biased because we're dealing with the 80% of people who don't exercise. I'm not competing for the 4% who have online coaches right now. And like, I'm just not interested in them. But it's like, how does it actually look like you give a shit and you know what you're doing, and you're like, yeah, so yeah, upping your professionalism doesn't mean everyone's a hack. It just means like, try to up your game like 10% in a few areas, versus just like, yeah, I'm a trainer, and like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And like,
yeah, I like that. I like that one. I think, what I'm hearing you say that that is layered into into this professionalism is, put yourself in the shoes of your clients and see, like, how do they see you? Do they see you as someone who's reliable and professional? And are you reflecting your values in the things you're doing, like your marketing and your website or your social media or whatever it is? And I think that all of that, you're right, I think does lend itself to this sense of, oh, this is like a professional place I'm going. This is a place where people know what they're doing. They give a shit. And I can trust them. Yeah.
And even if that place is like your backyard or a park or whatever, like I'm not saying you need to have a super shiny studio, because we don't at all, but just to like carry yourself with a little bit more of like, you care about more than just like getting them to do some squats and like,
yeah,
that it can actually be an experience that will make a difference for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great lens to use. I love that answer. Awesome. Well, you did it, my friend. That was your final 5 questions. That's amazing. You crushed. So in any parting words, so a few questions. One is, how do people learn more about you? I mean, I can also share that if they want to work with you, they should just reach out to us, because Ben coaches and mentors through our Unicorn Society and Leadership Society. And so, come work with us at Business for Unicorns. I'll put out that pitch. But where else can people learn about you and your gym and follow you online?
Yeah, I was going to say Business for Unicorns. Click the link. It'll probably be somewhere.
I'll put some link below to book some coaching with Ben or something.
Yeah, but if you want to learn about my gym, the website is lsfit.ca for Lean Strong Fitness, and it's a CA because I live in Canada and com was taken. And then you can also just send me an email, benjamin@lsfit.ca. I'm not like having a personal brand and doing all the social media good things I probably could do. So like, if you want to chat, just reach out. I have Instagram as well, but it's basically renovations and hunting. So you may not learn anything. It's my non-work outlet.
Yeah, I've been inspired by your renovations, so I think it's great to follow. I'll maybe also put your Business for Unicorns email down below, which is just ben@businessforunicorns.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, my friend. This was a true blast. I mean, we get to talk all the time, but not like this. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me on. This was an honor. I really appreciate it.
We'll talk soon, I'm sure. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it, and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.